the word, he doesn't do what you think he would do. He doesn't part the skies and send down a chariot of fire to pick him up and take him to Bethany and heal Lazarus and come back. No, Jesus says, no, I'm good. I'm good. And I was like, what? Not what? You loved this man. You loved this family. This family did things with you that, in all honesty, no other family had done at that point. And you're telling them, no, I'm good. And I just got those goosebumps on the back of my neck when I read that, because I was like, why? Like, what? Why? In verse number 4, this is why. When he heard this, Jesus said, this sickness will not end in death. No, it is for God's glory, so that God's Son may be glorified through it. Jesus loved Martha and her sister and Lazarus. Yet, when he heard this, Lazarus was sick. He stayed for 2 more days. And I began to think about it. Why? Because when he heard Lazarus was sick, immediately he had a plan for Lazarus. He had a plan for Lazarus. As soon as he heard the need, he immediately had a plan. And his plan was for him to wait. So if I had to have points, and again, I tell you, this is the vegetables. Sometimes we must wait for God's plan. Sometimes we must wait for God's plan in our life. Sometimes we're going to have prayers that are not going to be answered. And it's not because he doesn't love us. It's not because he doesn't want to do what we're asking him to do. Sometimes it's just not in his plan to do it right then. And this is, I'm telling you, I'm sorry, I'm trying to do this with love and grace. But in all honesty, most Christians of today, this is where they fail in terms of receiving what they expect to be received from God. Because they pray and they want it now. They pray and they expect it now, which you should. I'm not saying you shouldn't. You should. But sometimes it's just not in God's plan right now. And one of the reasons we fail sometimes in those waiting moments is found in 1 Peter chapter 5, verse 8. Tell us that be alert and sober mind. Your enemy, the devil, prowls around looking like a roaring lion and for something to devour. You see, when you pray and you ask God, God, do this, this, and this, and he doesn't at that moment, you've got 1 or 2 choices you can do. One, you can leave and keep coming back and keep believing and keep praying and keep believing and keep praying until you receive what you want to receive. Or you can allow the enemy to start concocting your personal tune in your mind. You see, this is just for an example of me. Hello, this is me. I pray for something that I want desperately. Hard prayer, just that nasty face, snot prayer. And he doesn't do it. I leave the same. At that moment, when I get in my car, what the enemy does is he goes, oh, well, you got to start doubting God because he's not answering it. Oh, you can't, because you got to fear for failure. What if you come out of this and now you got to share your testimony, but because you feel of failure, you don't speak enough good English, you're not going to churches, you're feeling for failure. Oh, this is a really good one for me. You can't ask for a healing and receive it because you're supposedly called to the ministry. So can't nobody realize that you ain't got nothing wrong in your life. That you can't go through nothing. That you can't go through nothing because you got a church to uphold. That's what the enemy plants on your tomb, your spiritual and mental tomb. This is a really good one right here. You can't receive what you want to receive because you just got too much anxiety in your life. Because what the enemy's telling you is, yeah, you're stressing and you're anxious about this, but if God heals you with this, you're just going to have something tomorrow for him to heal. You can't, because he's tired of that. And the enemy builds these spiritual and mental tombs. And the worst one that he does is he labels it yours. He labels it yours. And I found that so difficult to grasp because I was like, that's so depressing. That's so depressing. Like, what in the world? So then I went back to the Bible and I began to just pray. God, just reveal to me some freshness, some meat, some of those things that when the enemy starts to do that, when I start getting bold in my faith, and I'm like, I'm going to go to that altar, and I'm going to start doing, but he starts doing all this stuff. Give me something that I can just go to. I'm just going to give you a spoiler alert. Yeah. Jeremiah 29, verse 11. Tell us, for I know the plans. Ooh, wait a second. Hold up. In Jeremiah, he says, I know the plans I have for you. And when Mary and Martha's word got to him, what did he have for them? Plans. Plans. For I know the plans I have for you. Plans to prosper you. I like this one. And not harm you. Plans to give you hope and a future. So when you start getting bold in your faith, you start getting bold in your faith. Hey, I'm about to come back. I'm about to pray for this to be gone and over with. And the enemy starts doing all this stuff. I wish you'd grow a backbone one time and tell the enemy, hey, I know God's got a plan for me. I know God's got a plan for my life. I know God's got something in store for me. I don't know what it is, but I know he's got it. I got these debt problems, and I've been going through these debt problems for a really long time, and I'm gonna pray, Lord, take these debt problems from me, but nothing happened. Nothing happened. Well, I guess it's just not meant for me to. I guess I'm just gonna have to live in debt. Oh, my marriage isn't too great right now. My marriage isn't too good right now. Yeah. I'm going to, Lord, just touch over my marriage. Oh, it didn't happen. Yeah. Right now, it didn't happen. Right. So I guess it's just not going to happen. I guess it's just not going to happen. I guess I'm just going to live in a terrible marriage. Oh, I've been sick. This is a good one. And I'm not trying to be, but I'm telling you. This right here in my life is one that gets me so often. I'm sick, and I've been sick for so long, and I'm tired of being sick. So I'm going to, Lord, just touch my sickness. Well, I wake up on Monday, and I'm still sick. I wake up on Tuesday, and I'm still sick. I guess it's just not in God's plans for me to be healed. Kids. They're gone, they're far gone, and they're just not coming back. But I pray for them. Lord, touch over my kids. But now they're further away than they've ever been. So I guess they're not coming back anymore. Do you see how quickly? Do you see how quickly that happens? Yeah. Oh, yeah. But this is the worst part. Oh, yeah. That's the worst part of it. Because now there's a barrier between what you want God to do. And it's a barrier with all this stuff. And you can't get to it. And I found it so fascinating because I was thinking about it like this. If this is in here and it's locked up and I go about my life doing other things, I'm going to forget about this. I'm going to forget about what's in here because I can't see it. I can't see it anymore. I'm going to forget about my kids coming back. I'm going to forget about the sickness that I want to be relieved. I'm just going to start living in sickness. I'm going to forget about the spiritual fire that I want back because I can't see it, and it's sealed in a tomb, in your tomb, that the enemy created when you started doubting that he was going to do it. And I find that so fast. Like I said, I'm sorry, it's just vegetables. I'm not trying to be. And that's what happens. That's what happens. But thank God that that's not where Lazarus' story ends. And that's not where our story's. And Jesus decides it's time. It's time. And I find that fascinating because Lazarus is already dead when he leaves. And so on one side of this, you have Jesus who's ready to get over there and perform this miraculous miracle. And then on the other side, you have Mary and Martha who's grieving the death of their brother. On this side, you have Jesus who's ready to do work and show up in the situation. But on this side, you have Mary and Martha that are still grieving. The Bible never tells us they sent another word back to him. They just had to wait for him. And during that period, he died.